If you are a bourbon drinker, you've likely seen the local brand Belle Meade Bourbon. It hit store shelves in 2012, but its roots go back to the late 1800s when it was first made at a distillery north of Nashville. Now, Prohibition stopped all that and the history was lost.
But it was two brothers 5 generations later who brought it back. News 4's Lauren Lowry has their story made in Nashville.
This is where we do all of our Tennessee whiskey.
And it all starts with our great-great-great-grandfather, Charles Nelson.
You could say that distilling is in Andy and Charlie Nelson's blood, but unlike most treasured family stories, these two had no idea.
Dad went in with a few buddies to buy a full cow worth of meat from this butcher.
As you do.
Yes, and there's this historical marker right at the corner of the street that says Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery on it. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, is this us? Is this our thing?
In their research, the brothers found old liquor bottles and labels for Charles Nelson's distillery dating back to the late 1800s.
Where we saw those bottles with our name on them, I mean, everything just made sense. It was like being struck by lightning.
We got the still over here, we got the mash cooker, and the fermenters in between.
It's been 13 years since Andy and Charlie Nelson learned about their family heritage, largely lost due to statewide prohibition in 1909. They've since revived the old Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. Their first product was one Charles Nelson produced in the late 19th century.
So welcome to the tasting portion of the tours.
Belle Meade Bourbon.
What you want to do is kind of get your mouth and your nose into the glass as though you're about to take the first sip.
Their award-winning Belle Meade Bourbon is now distributed in 22 states and has been bottled in several iterations. It's put this historic distillery's second act on the map.
Y'all ready for the next one?
But the brothers are honest about their struggles early on and say it was only possible because of this community.
As far as what Nashville has to do with this, I mean, it's everything. I mean, there's no way we could do this anywhere else.
It's a story worthy of a toast.
Cheers!
Cheers! Here's what's next for Andy and Charlie. In their research years ago, they came across their great-great-great-grandfather's recipe for Tennessee whiskey. It had been published in a newspaper article. Now, that whiskey was part of the reason that Tennessee whiskey became its own category of spirits. The brothers started recreating it about 4 years ago. It'll be released this fall. Lauren Lowry, News 4.
Thank you, Lauren. Whiskey. On a Friday night. Okay. Clearly, the brothers are doing something right. A Fortune 500 company announced they're buying a major stake in the business. New York-based Constellation Brands Incorporated took a majority stake earlier this month, part of a $20 million funding deal. Charlie Nelson tells News 4 the investment gives Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery more resources to grow the business around the world. It is the first time in over a decade that Nelson, his dad, and brother are not personally guaranteeing everything. The family also plans to invest and grow deeper roots in the Nashville community.
Wish them the best of luck.